Welcome, Warriors, back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2 and the 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are on your purpose. And thank you for all the donations, and thank you for all the comments and feedback. We're getting stronger and stronger. Our goal of 500 subscribers, we're still not there yet, but we're getting stronger. We're getting more and more as time goes on, so thank you for all that. And thank you for all your contributions and things that we are helpful, and comments and likes and things like that. So we're doing a number of different things here. We're focusing on masculine individuals, and so that series is going to continue. I'm looking to use this YouTuber called SC, and that's the next one I want to do. I'm trying to get more information on that person before I finish it. I'll probably try to do that sometime today or tonight if I can. And then we're also finishing our description of some of the chapters in the Think and Grow Rich book, which we're going to do a couple today and try to get more out of those books and maybe try to help you a little bit that way. And then also I had a question on the 10 Commandments, and I think we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit too over the next week or so. And we also want to get into different books. And so books, we're looking at books, different types of things out there, people, all these type of things that kind of help you become a stronger and more efficient and more effective type person. And really the key, guys, is to kind of master yourself. And that's what this is all about, mastering yourself and being the best person you can be. So this one goes back to Napoleon Hill's book, and it's going to focus on what they call the 6 ghosts of fear. And we'll talk about each one of these ghosts of fear and kind of look at maybe some of the symptoms here and look at how to deal with these type of things. So the first one is called the fear of poverty, and this is the most destructive one. We live in a society where people deal with, money. I mean, this is a currency we have, and the money could be in different forms. It could be in gold, it could be in cryptocurrency, it could be Bitcoin, it could be all kinds of stuff. And we're seeing different types of things like that all the time. Now, the other thing that is important here is to realize that lots of people get judged by money. Now, it's not the right thing, but this is how people judge each other. And even though you can never take the money with you when you pass away, people are always into judging people. And so you have to kind of realize that. And you realize in the long run it makes no difference, but people will judge you, especially if you're younger. And for some of you younger people, and we have a huge viewership between 25 and 34, it's understandable. So when we look at this, we look at some of these things as most destructive type behavior. Now, he talks about some of the symptoms of this, and here's some symptoms. Indifference, right? People don't care about ambitions anymore. They're not interested in making money. Now, fortunately, that's one that's never been a problem for me, because no matter if I'm 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, I'm going to continue to try to make money. Because I like making money and I want to do that, okay? Indecision is another one. Indecision, the idea that you can't make a decision. And we see lots of people like that in the world today. So indecision is something you have to be careful of, right? The third one, doubt. People doubt themselves. Now this goes back to retention. I'm always going to tie it back to retention. When you look at these type of things, these fears are affected because of retention. And those are the types of things that make it hard. Worry, right? Now, when I was younger and I had issues, I always worried. And when I, almost committed suicide when I was younger, I also focused on, negative things all the time. My attitude was very negative, and that's one of the big problems you have here. And as a result of that, I had to see counseling after I tried to commit suicide, went to college, and did that kind of stuff. One of the books I had was Dale Carnegie's book, on how to stop worrying. And that was a book I lasted because I had lots of worry. But you realize only 7% of the things you worry about ever happen. And so it's kind of a foolish thing, but when you release, you get caught up in all this stuff. Over caution, another one, right? Being too cautious, not taking risks. Those things happen. And the same thing with procrastination, right? And so when you look at this, money is something that's important to people. Now, does it make a difference in the long run? Really not. But people use it to judge things. And they will use it to judge you, and you tend to use it to judge yourself. Now, the way to overcome that, bud, is always have a purpose in mind and realize that what you're doing on your plan is more important than any kind of money you have. Because you're realizing not only your health is positive, you're having a good sense of what money is. Money is a tool, and that's all it is. And that's the type of thing to remember. It's only a tool to use for the benefit that you're going to achieve things that you want. Now, doesn't matter whether you're rich or not. When it means abundance, we don't necessarily mean being rich. You're abundance because you're happy, you have all those things that are positive in your life to make things better for you. And that's what makes you abundance. All right, so the second one then we're focusing on here, and I believe it's called the fear of criticism, and that's the second type, and that's another one that's really important. We focus on that one as the second most important one. People do not like to be criticized. They don't want to be rejected because they look at it as a part of rejection. Well, and when you're not on retention and you're watching things, videos and things like that, and you're sitting there looking at images, you're focusing on losing your energy. You become a lot more susceptible to criticism. But when you are not, those type of things don't really matter that much anymore. And so you look at criticism, people a lot of times criticism because they're hurting themselves. A lot of times they'll criticize you because they're hurting. They're not feeling too well. And so they lash out at you. And that's important to realize. Yes, I think there's a difference between just criticism and unjust criticism. For instance, if a person's telling you how to solve a problem that you did and criticizing you, well, that's a person who cares about the solution, wants you to become better, and they're going to provide a solution with you. They're going to help you. A person who's giving you unjust criticism that should be just ignored is someone who doesn't really care. They're just shooting out, things at you. And that should be just knocked away. You should not just totally ignore that. So for instance, somebody comes to me and says, okay, Ed, here's a way that you can actually help, with your broadcast. You can actually help by doing this, A, B, and C, right? And that type of thing I love hearing because it's good criticism, And I know I'm far from being perfect at anything, and so I can always keep growing and keep learning. Now, the unjust criticism, if somebody came to me and said, Ed, you're just too short. I'm about 6 feet, so I'm not totally short, but you could be saying I'm too short. Maybe they like someone who's 6'3", 6'4", or something like that, right? But that's unjust because there's nothing I can do about that, right? There's nothing I can respond to about that. So that kind of stuff, guys, is unjust, and you have to kind of make a separation between the two. So that's the second fear you have to be careful of, and like I said, with retention, that's going to help a lot. All right, the fear of ill health. Now, here is one that I believe you can make a strong impact on. Once again, obviously, when you're releasing, you're becoming weaker, in my opinion. If you're not doing that, then you're becoming stronger, and you're more able to deal with things. Right? I have not been sick and out of commission. I don't know how long. I'll get sniffles like I have right now once in a while, and I get people around me are all sick. All kinds of stuff. But I have not been sick in a long, long time, right? And I think the key is, guys, to me, is that A, I don't want to be sick. And mentally, I've kind of told myself that. So that's something I build in. And B, I'm doing the kind of things, releasing, that I'm not releasing. So I'm basically kind of holding myself in, and I'm using all those nutrients to take care of myself. And so, taking all kinds of stuff, I still believe, guys, and this is just instinct telling me, I don't have any documented evidence on this, but instinct's telling me that we take far too many things that are destructive to ourselves. And this is where this fear comes in, where you're sitting there taking pills, taking medications, taking all kinds of stuff that you don't really need. And we see this right now in our society. We see a lot of things out there that people want you to take, and we all have a choice to take it or not, right? And you have to just be noticing that anything you put in your body is not going to be something that's going to help you. It's going to be a side effect. It may help you in some way. It may not help you in another way. Make sure you know what you're putting in your body, because that's the key to keeping yourself fit and at least happy most of the way through your life. So that's another fear. So the fear of ill health, people get scared of as well. Now, the next one, and those are the three ones people worry about the most. The next one, The fear of loss of love of someone. So here is one that is a key one as well for people. They have a lot of fear about losing somebody. They have a lot of fear of not having a relationship. But because of that, what ends up happening is they put themselves in tough situations. They put themselves in positions that they're not really going to be successful with people because they become desperate. They become desperate, and now they're looking at relationships like, I gotta have one, or I'm not as happy, or I'm not as secure if I don't have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And it makes a big difference in how they behave. And I think that, they become more desperate, so people pull away from them more, and the fear becomes stronger. So that's one of the keys, guys, to realize that you cannot have this kind of fear. And I think a lot of people who lose relationships, this is one of the key things that happens. They tend to have such a fear of losing that relationship that they're subconsciously sabotaging themselves all the time. And this is a huge thing when it comes to this type of fear. And so they go into relationships knowing that they're scared this person's not going to call them and things like that, and they're afraid of being themselves. And so because of that, they give up their power in a relationship, and eventually the person leaves them anyway because they're not being themselves, and that person really is kind of a wussy, a beta male in this case, and the woman will leave them, and find someone who's a stronger male. And so you're defeating your own purpose, but the bottom line, it goes back down to that fear of losing somebody or loss of somebody, okay? Fear of old age, another one, right? The fear of old age. People are scared of losing, their age, getting older. Well, I'm 60, and I'm still feeling strong. I'm still feeling, fit, and I'm going to continue going as long as I can. I don't have that fear right now, and that's something to continue going. And remember, guys, we are matter and energy. So in matter and energy, what happens is that you end up losing, matter cannot be destroyed. It can only be transferred into something else. And that's the key to it. All right, and the last one is the fear of death. Well, guys, when you look at the fear of death, really there's nothing to be fearful of. If you have a lot of strong faith, you know that you're going to go ahead and meet your Creator when you're done. And I've seen this when people die. I've seen, energy leave them and go straight up. It makes a lot of sense to me that all these stories about heaven, they've got to be true. And so I have no doubt about that. The other thing, God, is that matter cannot be destroyed. So you're going to transfer into something. And so you have no fear of death, because all you got to do is have a transformation into something else and seeing your Creator. And though the body you're in right now may not be the same body that you end up having, but you're going to be somewhere else spirit-wise. And it, guys, goes back down to spirits. It's got very little to do with the body you're in. Your body reflects your current state, who you are, but the body's not going to identify you. And that's something also to keep in mind. So, guys, these are the 6 fears that Napoleon Hill writes about. Still very appropriate now than it was in 1960, 1970. And it's going to always be appropriate, because people are people. And human nature doesn't change the stories, no matter if you're living in the Persian times, or the Egyptian times, the Greek times, the Roman times, the British times, the United States' times, America's times. All these are the same. They don't change. And the same thing occurs now than it did before. All right, guys, until next time, battle on.